After meeting with the fish-faced god and receiving its revelation, Logus' eyes opened and he studied in secret for a very long time, suffering crushing defeats one after the other. But his faith was strong, and in his heart reasoned the holy words of the god, so he continued until his toil bare fruit, and people converted by the hundreds to the ways of the seven structures. This is his final words. Welcome to the ultimate guide to Swarmlings, Part 4. So in part 1 to 3, we've seen different considerations, why 7 structure swarmlings is the way to play swarmlings, consider their setup, their starting position, how you expect to get your points, and now we will look more closely into the different openings that the swarmlings can do. All right, so now what we will look for is how you build your plan as swarmling for the early round. And one of the questions you should ask yourself is, when do you plan to build your sanctuary? So will you build it in round 1, in round 2, in round 3, and it should never be later than that. So first option is sanctuary round 1. I mean, often if that's possible, that will be your best option, but it won't always be possible because it's cost a lot. It's 16 worker, 26 coins. So since you start with 12 workers and 20 coins, you need 4 workers and 6 coins. And the question of where you get that is kind of difficult. So you almost always need the big building bonus. Sometimes you can do it with. I've seen it done with 1 worker, 3 power, but most often it will be the big building bonus. You ideally will want the 2 economic power action, which is not always possible again. Um, and for that, so those are the ideal circumstances. You get these 2 power action, you get the big building bonus. You need to reach 7. So it's a lot, but it's not. It's far from being impossible. Since you build your stronghold early, if people kind of want to beat you to different hexes, they will tend to build around you. So you often ends up leeching a lot early. So it's a very, very possible plan, much more than you will think at first, or even though it's super expensive. But it's also very rewarding because you get your 2 best building, the stronghold and the sanctuary in round 1. So that's worth thinking of. I mean, you have to be aware of that possibility and make it happen when you can, because it can be super super good. In terms of favorite tile, if you get your sanctuary round 1, you'll almost always pick water 1, and then the other one. Probably, I mean, I've seen situation where Earth One was interesting, but most likely, if you want to go for a scoring favor, you'll go for Air One, but you won't use it in round 1. So you can also consider an economic favor when you build your sanctuary that early. So either Fire One or Earth Two, both of them can be very interesting. Also, Water 2 can be interesting if you want to play a very high cold game. And Water 2 has the big upsides of letting you have some kind of tempo um, in order to favorize your passing game later, because all your game again is oriented on bonus. So I think Fire 1 sometimes, I think Water 2, sorry, sometimes will let you do an extra action in order to outweigh your opponent. And sometimes, I mean, you will not use this extra action because you want to pass as fast as possible, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, it just gives you some kind of leverage to use your pass style. So, Sanctuary round 1, again, you have almost all the options are possible. Earth 1, Air 1, Water 2, Earth 2, Air 2 I will not, but Fire 1, I think all of these options are quite possible for you. So that's something to look for and something that will almost always give you a very good game if you can get the Sanctuary in round 1. Alright, so second option, Sanctuary round 2, that will be usually when you get one dwelling out. That's the easiest way to do it. So you need 10 worker, 10 coins, and since you start with 12 and 20, you're fine with that. You just need to find a spade, in order to make it possible. And if you factor in the income of the trading post and worker, it means that after income you will be left on the beginning on round 2 with 8 coins and 5 workers. And that's not counting the bonus tile you get. So in order to get your sanctuary up after the temple, you will need 8 worker, 14 coins in order to do that for these two buildings. So what you lack with after the income is 3 workers, 6 coins. And again, we haven't considered any of the bonus for round 1 and round 2. So it should not be hard at all to get here. Um, I find that it's especially easy with the spade bonus. So that's a very viable strategy if you get the spade bonus in round 1. But there's all kinds of way in order to do that. I find that the reason why you want to get a dwelling out in this strategy is because you will need this dwelling to be out to change it in a trading post. If you don't have a dwelling out after round 1, you don't have the income for the dwelling, which makes the sanctuary much harder to build because you also then need to build a dwelling in order to build a trading post. So if you cannot get a dwelling out in round 1, it's probably a sign that you will have difficulty doing your sanctuary in round 2. Um, so that's the other option. Also, I find that it's easier. Often you will be tempted to transform this trading post into a temple, and that's a very fine strategy too, because you want to play on the cold. But if you do, it's usually a lot harder to build your sanctuary in round 2. So if you do, and we will talk about that in a minute, but if you do transform this trading post into a temple, that's again totally fine, but then you're more aiming for sanctuary round 3 than round 2. If, for example, there's the big building event in round 2, or for some other reason you want your sanctuary in round 2, you're better not to change it to upgrade the temple yet. It will, the 2 coins and 2 power income that you get out of the trading post will help you much more to get the sanctuary than the priest that you get from the temple. Okay, so our two last opening options will be for your sanctuary round 3. I find that, again, the temple, so that we've just discussed, will be a little harder to do in round 1. As you'll need 1 worker, 1 coin, and 3 power. For this reason, I find that it's especially easy to do with the 1 worker, 3 power bonus tile. It's often, if I get this bonus tile, it often will be the opening that I will go for. However, say this opening is kind of the default opening to me for Swarmlings. So the one that you will do the most often will be this. And the idea is that you want to play on cold, so getting a temple out in round 1 is pretty good for that. Getting a priest for round 2 will help you to hit 1-3 spots on the cold track, so it's very, very valuable. I like the strategy a lot. Then the only thing is that you have to remember that you're not getting any coin income early on. So again, probably not Sanctuary round 2 in this, and you'll have to try to find another spade until the end of round 3 in order to make the Sanctuary worth, because you need again to have dwellings out. You need to have another dwelling out for this one is turning into a trading post in round 2, and you need another one, right, to turn into a trading post in round 3. So that's something to keep in mind. But otherwise, it should not be at all a problem to get a sanctuary round 3. Again, the only issue here I find is finding coins. So it will be a a safer opening if there's a safe source of coins that you can find for the later rounds. So the last option I want to discuss is the possibility of doing 2 dwellings in round 1, aiming for a sanctuary in round 2. In many ways, that's my kind of favorite. I find that it gives Swarmlings a very strong economy, a very strong game. So the idea is that for that you need 12 workers and 18 coins, and you start with 12 workers and 20 coins. So it seems almost that Swarmlings were designed to do this opening. The only thing that you need to secure is the 2 spade action, and you only need to leech 3 power for that. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, you can be robbed of the action by a faction which start with many power like engineers. But if you think that you can secure the 2 spade action, I find that can be a very, very strong opening. And the idea is that you're getting 4 workers, 4 coins from your structures as an income. Well, uh, using the 2 coins that you will be left over from round one. So you'll start with at least 4 workers, 4 coins plus the bonus. And then for round three, if you look, you'll build a trading post in round two, which means that after income you'll get 7 workers and 10 coins or something like that in round three. And since you need 8 workers, 14 coins for the temple, you just need 1 worker, 4 coins in order to do the sanctuary. So that should not be a problem at all, especially considering that we haven't factored in the bonus style that you get in any of these rounds. So that's not difficult at all to get your sanctuary. I find that this option works very, very well if you can get these bonus style in the game. And you start with this bonus style. And the idea is that with all these structures that you're building, there's a big chance that you're passing last, and that will be what you aim for. So if you can be the last player to pass, you probably can pass for a trading post bonus because usually no one wants a trading post in round two. So you pass for the trading post bonus, and the idea is that you can have a lightning quick round two. You have all you need to build your trading post in round two and in round three. So you can do that and then be the first player to pass again for the big building because you just play 1 move in round two or maybe 2 if you want a power action. And then you're the first to pass for the big building and you'll get 8 points from the fact that you get your sanctuary out. So I find that's a very, very strong and interesting strategy for Swarmlings. I mean, of course, you can also do your temple in round two in the strategy. That works too. But I like the idea of passing for the trading post bonus, doing 4 points out of your 2 trading posts out uh, at the end of the round, and then carry on with round three temple. For example, if there's a temple round scoring, that works super well. Or again, if you can pass again for the big building, that works super well. So that's I find very the last possibility here, which is digging Swarmlings. It's not so much an opening than a strategy for the track, especially if there's, well, almost always. For this strategy, you will need the round 4 digging, so that's the most important thing. But if you can get big building in round 3, I find that's very helpful. And also temple or trading post in round 6, because usually you'll be able to exploit that more on this strategy. So idea is that you probably go around 1 temple with or 2, but you can also have the 2 dwellings out, as we've seen earlier. That's possible. But if you get a temple in round 1, in this strategy, you'll almost always want or 2, and that's kind of fun to go with the strategy. You will want to advance digging by round 4, and you also want to get 2 towns by round 4 because they will give you workers that you will use. So if you can be the first to send priest on the right fold, and you get the 2 key towns, that means that you get 3 workers out of the round 3 event. You'll get 3 workers out of Earth 2, and you get 6 workers out of the 2 towns. Just these together means that you will get 12 workers, and you use 4 to advance digging, so you have 8 workers to dig, giving you 16 points, which is amazing for Swarmlings, trading 8 worker for 16 points. That's a very big point income. It replaced basically a favorite tile, and we haven't factored in any kind of building income from that. So you at least get two workers from your basic income as Swarmlings. So you can boost that to 20 points easily. So that's a very fun way to score a lot as Swarmlings. I find it's a strategy that you should look for when there's round 4 digging. You can look on the stream recently. I've played a game with Nerdcube where he put on a clinic on how to play digging Swarmlings. In this game, he didn't go for two, but he went for the double spade in round 1, and which kind of give more or less the same frame of mind. And he was able to use the digging event very well in round 4 to end up with a very high score in the end in the 170s, I think. So something to look for, which I'd say we all know the digging faction, Darklings, Halflings can exploit round 4 digging very well, but just after them I will put Swarmlings in third, maybe after Alchemist too, but after the black faction and the brown faction, definitely Swarmlings comes as a faction that can really use the round 4 digging um, in a very powerful way. And that's why when I see round 4 digging, Swarmlings, I think, is a very interesting choice. So last thing to conclude this ultimate guide, I want you. So I've put a lot of emphasis on playing 7 structure Swarmlings, which doesn't mean that you should always limit yourself to 7 structures, and which doesn't mean that there's no game where you should not go for network. I mean, uh, Swarmlings used to be played always as kind of network Swarmlings, and they were not doing horribly. I mean, seven structures I think made them a little better most of the games, but there will be game where network Swarmlings are totally the way to go. And I wanted to conclude this to with some pointers on when that might be. Round 6 dwellings will be meaning that probably you can look for more network Swarmlings. The thing is, Swarmlings build up all game, and it seems that in round 6 they can be ready to get a lot of dwelling out if they want. So that's one thing that can give you the possibility of that. Uh, one thing that I will take into consideration too is there other network faction? Uh, if you think that you can win network or that you the way things are unfolding, you think that you have a shot on network, then it's worth a lot more.